Stick around later for Jimmy Fallon as Joel McHale drops by tonight.
Three big stories breaking now. Southwest orders enhanced inspections of its entire fleet after an engine blows in midair, killing a woman.
Horror, numb, just overwhelmed.
Tonight, we are hearing from Texans who tried to save her as federal investigators reveal fresh clues about what might have caused the catastrophic failure. Plus, remembering former First Lady Barbara Bush, who died tonight at the age of 92. The message her husband is sharing, and the tributes taking shape in North Texas. And late-breaking details, a top U.S. official makes a secret trip to North Korea to meet with Kim Jong-un. What the White House is saying.
You're watching NBC 5 News at 10.
Tonight we have the first clues about what might have caused today's disaster aboard Southwest Airlines Flight 1380. Good evening, everyone. I'm Meredith Land.
I'm Christy Nelson.
And I'm Brian Curtis. Investigators with the National Transportation Safety Board say they have found evidence of metal fatigue and a broken fan blade inside the engine that blew apart. We also know they've recovered a big piece of the engine that fell to the ground about 70 miles from Philadelphia. The Boeing 737 was on its way from New York LaGuardia to Dallas Love Field with 144 passengers and 5 crew on board. The plane was at 32,500 feet. That's higher than the top of Mount Everest when one of its engines had a catastrophic failure. Flying pieces of metal apparently shattered one of the windows, and a woman was nearly sucked out of the plane as the cabin depressurized. Fellow passengers were able to pull her back inside, but she later died. She has been identified as this woman, 43-year-old Jennifer Reardon, a wife and mother of 2 young children. Reardon was a vice president at Wells Fargo Bank in Albuquerque, and she'd been in New York City on business. Tonight, Jennifer Reardon's family released a statement that says, in part, "She is the bedrock of our family. She and Mike wrote a love story unlike any other. Her beauty and love is evident through her children. We are so appreciative of the outpouring of support from family, friends, and our community." We have learned Salina firefighter Andrew Needham tried to save Jennifer Reardon by performing CPR. Needham was one of several passengers who rushed to help after they believe shrapnel shattered that window. Another man, Tim McGinty, who was sitting across the aisle, described the harrowing moments.
Anyway, when we saw the window was gone, somebody saw the lady out the window, so just tried to get her back in, and wasn't strong enough. And a paramedic, actually a fireman from Salina, Texas, jumped in there and helped, and between the two of us were able to get her back in. It seemed like 2 minutes, and then it seemed like 2 hours. They were having to drop the plane 20,000 feet in 5 minutes, come to find out, and the pilots, I don't know how they did it.
You saw that wrap there on McGinty's arm. He says he scraped his arm as he tried to save Jennifer Reardon. Flight 1380 was on its way to Love Field. Noel Walker is there for us tonight. Noel, I know you just talked with one of those passengers who finally arrived in Dallas within the last hour.
Yeah, they're behind me right now at baggage claim, finally getting their bags, finally at their destination hours after they were expected to be here. Take a look at this video we shot just a few minutes ago. This all happened within the last half an hour. This is the receiving area. If you've ever been to Love Field, it's upstairs. You could feel the emotion up there as families gathered to wait for their loved ones on what probably would have been a semi-uneventful arrival into Dallas Love Field until what happened today. You can see that they were hugging and crying. We saw this repeated over and over and over again, just the emotions getting the better of people as they finally were able to see their loved ones. We also spoke to a woman who said she too helped perform CPR on that woman who died.
There was a really big commotion about 4 rows back behind me, and I turned over my shoulder to just look and see what was happening. It was a lot of chaos back there, lots of really upset people and a lot of noise and a big rush of air, like a big whoosh of air. And so I thought, well, there's too many people back there right now. I don't think they need me. The EMT had gone back, and then about 30 seconds later, the flight attendant said, would you please, is there anybody here who knows CPR? And I was like, out of my seatbelt, went and you know, we did CPR on this lady.
So this has been a very long and emotional day for a lot of people. It's the kind of thing that nobody thinks will happen on a flight, particularly a flight that they're just coming home, you know, thinking it's going to be uneventful, and then the worst possible thing could happen. I spoke to one gentleman by text. We were texting earlier tonight. He was also on that plane. I was asking him if he was on the flight that was on the way back, and he said he just couldn't bring himself to get on another plane right now to come home. He's going to wait for a while. Brian?
Yes, certainly understandable. Thank you, Noel Walker for us at Love Field. Our senior investigative reporter, Scott Friedman, is in Philadelphia tonight. He is tracking the search for answers about what happened on Southwest 1380. Scott, it's only been about 12 hours since the accident, but we already have some clues.
We do, Brian. That Dallas-bound plane sits here on the ground tonight in Philly. NTSB investigators examining it, trying to figure out what caused such a devastating failure 6 miles above the ground. Tonight, early signs point to a problem they have seen before, what's known as metal fatigue.
Southwest 1380. I understand your emergency. Let me know when you want to go in.
Panic in the sky as the crippled Southwest Airlines plane headed for an emergency landing. The pilots requesting ambulances. On the ground, NTSB photos show the extent of the damage. The front of the left engine peeled back, a cabin window blown out. Tonight, investigators said early signs point toward a problem with the number 13 fan blade in that engine.
One of the fan blades, the number 13 fan blade, was separated and missing, and it was separated at the point where it would come into the hub.
Just 2 years ago, the NTSB found a fan blade broke off the engine of another Southwest Airlines plane, apparently because of metal fatigue. That prompted the engine maker to issue a service bulletin last June, telling airlines to conduct ultrasonic tests on those fan blades after a certain number of flights. The FAA also proposed a similar directive. It's unclear if the plane involved in today's incident had undergone those tests, but the NTSB said tonight Southwest has promised to immediately ramp up testing on its fleet.
In the last hour, I've spoken to Southwest Airlines CEO Gary Kelly, and he has told me that Southwest will immediately begin enhanced inspections procedures involving ultrasonic inspection. They will begin that and plan to have that on their entire fleet conducted very soon.
Southwest says tonight it expects only minimal disruption to flights as they conduct those tests over the next 30 days. Tests, they say, are being conducted out of an abundance of caution. The engine involved here is the most popular jet engine in the world. It's on most 737s. Tonight, federal officials tell me it's too soon to say whether they'll recommend more widespread testing across all airlines. First, they want to give investigators more time to pore over this plane. Live in Philadelphia, Scott Friedman, NBC5 Investigates.
Thank you, Scott. This afternoon, the CEO of Southwest Airlines, Gary Kelly, expressed his sympathy to the family of the woman who died, and he also praised the flight crew. Kelly says the pilot has been flying with Southwest for more than a decade.
They did their jobs superbly today, and we'll certainly want to make sure that they're all feeling fit for duty, so to speak, before they get back to work. I think I know enough about the family to know that they will be missing their loved one dearly here. So that's very painful for all of us.
We will have continuing coverage of Southwest Flight 1380 on air and online at NBCDFW.com. And we'll have any overnight developments starting tomorrow on NBC5 Today, starting at 4:30 a.m.
Now to our other big story tonight. Former First Lady Barbara Bush passed away this evening at the age of 92.
Her son, former President George W. Bush, issued this statement earlier tonight. My dear mother has passed on at age 92. Laura, Barbara, Jenna, and I are sad, but our souls are settled because we know hers was. Barbara Bush was a fabulous First Lady and a woman unlike any other who brought levity, love, and literacy to millions. To us, she was so much more. Mom kept us on our toes and kept us laughing until the end. I'm a lucky man that Barbara Bush was my mother. Our family will miss her dearly, and we thank you all for your prayers and good wishes. Barbara Bush, the wife and mother of presidents, was a popular first lady, known for her quick wit and fierce devotion to her family.
At last, I get a chance to prove I'm more than just a pretty face.
She was just 16 years old when she met George Herbert Walker Bush at a Christmas dance. They married a few years later when he was on leave from World War II.
I've been the luckiest woman in the world.
The Bushes settled in Midland, Texas, and had 6 children together: George, Jeb, Neil, Marvin, Dorothy, and Robin. Sadly, Robin died of leukemia at just 3 years old, a painful, life-changing event that helped drive Barbara's devotion to charities.
My wife, Barbara, the Silver Fox.
Barbara first entered the national spotlight in 1980 when her husband ran for president and later became Ronald Reagan's VP. 9 years later, George H.W. was America's 41st president. Barbara used her platform to champion a number of causes, influencing her husband to increase research for AIDS, and she was the first lady to hire an African-American woman as her press secretary. NBC5 was there in 1989 when she threw out the first pitch at a Rangers game, and after leaving the White House in 1992, Barbara authored 4 books, including 2 about her beloved dogs.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Barbara watched her son George rise from Texas governor to become the 43rd president in 2001.
Mrs. Barbara Bush.
And sat with pride during his presidential library dedication in Dallas in 2013. And she campaigned with another son, former Florida Governor Jeb Bush, during his presidential campaign in 2016. Through it all, she remained a steadfast partner of her husband of more than 70 years, proud of the life they built together.
At the end of your life, you will never regret not having passed one more test, winning one more verdict, or not closing one more deal. You will regret time not spent with a husband, a child, a friend, or a parent.
Her husband once wrote in a love letter, "I've climbed perhaps the highest mountain in the world, but even that cannot hold a candle to being Barbara's husband." And late tonight, former President George H.W. Bush's chief of staff released this statement to answer, quote, "How is 41? They say he is, of course, brokenhearted to lose his beloved Barbara, his wife of 73 years. He held her hand all day today and was at her side when she left this good earth." And it goes on to say he appreciates the well wishes and support. A young Dallas woman who spent years as Barbara Bush's personal aide sat down to share some private moments spent with the former First Lady.
Catherine Branch talked to me today before boarding a plane to Houston to say goodbye, and she spoke of Mrs. Bush's quick wit, love of family, and the one thing most people never knew about her.
My favorite moments with her were just coming in every morning to the house, go up to her little office. The dogs were sitting right next to her. She's just in her pajamas reading the paper. And, you know, "Good morning, Catherine, and what do we have on the schedule today?" And
Catherine Branch says the 3.5 years she spent as personal aide to Barbara Bush were a gift, and each day wonderfully unpredictable.
you know, you couldn't really pull her back a little bit. She said what she thought, and I think that's what everyone loved about her. She didn't really have a filter.
Branch was with her for the public appearances, but also spent months with the former first couple at the family's compound in Kennebunkport.
They're like 2 high school kids, still in love. They hold each other's hands in the living room when they're watching TV. They fight over who loves each other more.
What do you think the public didn't know about Barbara Bush?
I don't think she really liked the fame. I think she could have been a happy camper, not being in the limelight her entire life.
But Branch says Mrs. Bush was grateful for her life.
As she said, "I am the luckiest woman because of George Bush. He has given me the world. He's let me travel to places I would have never traveled to before, met people, seen things. She gives him all the credit."
Branch holds old letters and pictures close.
I picture her in her, her cashmere sweater and her little kid tennis shoes and just reading a book or doing her needlepoint or, doing a puzzle. Those were her favorite things to do.
I asked what she planned to tell Mrs. Bush on her final day.
Just how much she meant to me. Yeah. And that I love her.
And I talked to Catherine Brands tonight. She told me she was with Mrs. Bush most of the day today and said she knew that I was there. Tonight, North Texans are also showing their love for the Bush family. Alice Barr is at the George W. Bush Presidential Center in Dallas. I know that you've, Alice, spoken with some folks who have stopped by there.
Yeah, Meredith, we've seen families with young children stopping by the Bush Center here tonight. Mrs. Bush advocated for children, especially early childhood education, and those parents said that they wanted to make sure their children learned to pay their respects in return. Now, Marisha Granberry was the first to arrive here tonight, bringing flowers with her 6-year-old daughter. A second family soon followed with the same idea. The flag is flying at half-staff outside the Bush Center tonight, and inside there is a memorial set up where mourners will be able to leave their condolences and memories of Mrs. Bush when the doors open at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
I think she was an outstanding lady, integrity, character. She had an amazing life. Sadie goes to Solar Prep Academy, and each of their classrooms has a namesake, and one of the classrooms there is named after Barbara Bush. Thought it was really important for her to learn to show respect, and thought it was really important to bring her here.
The Bush Center's annual Forum on Leadership begins here tomorrow morning, and tonight we're told that it will carry on with President George Bush and his wife Laura still planning to attend and speak. Reporting live tonight in Dallas, Alice Barr, NBC 5.
Thank you, Alice. Tonight, President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump are offering their thoughts and prayers to the Bush family. In a statement, the president says, as a wife, mother, grandmother, military spouse, and former First Lady, Mrs. Bush was an advocate of the American family. She will be long remembered for her strong devotion to country and family, both of which she served unfailingly well.
And tributes to Barbara Bush are pouring in from others as well. From her grandson, Texas Land Commissioner George P. Bush, my grandmother didn't just live life, she lived it well, and the sorrow of her loss is softened by the knowledge of her impact on our family and our country. I will miss you, Ganny, but know we will see you again. And then this tweet from President Bill Clinton. Barbara Bush was a remarkable woman. She had grit and grace, brains and beauty. She was fierce and feisty in support of her family and friends, her country and her causes. She showed us what an honest, vibrant, full life looks like. Hillary and I mourn her passing and bless her memory. We've posted the funeral information on NBCDFW.com, and you can go to our NBC DFW Facebook page to share your favorite memories of Mrs. Bush or condolences for her family.
Coming up, an unprecedented meeting between the CIA director and North Korea's leader. What this could mean for a future meeting with President Trump.
Plus, a racial slur on a dining receipt on the campus of UNT. The hurtful message and how the university is reacting tonight.
And a urine test that may be able to detect future cancers in infants. The new technology.
New at 10, there's word tonight of an extraordinary face-to-face meeting between CIA Director Mike Pompeo and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Pompeo made the secret trip to North Korea on Easter weekend. Sources say the meeting could lay the groundwork for a summit between President Trump and Kim Jong-un. The White House says the president and Kim Jong-un still have not spoken directly. Any bill aimed at protecting special counsel Robert Mueller from being fired will not make it to the Senate floor. Tonight, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said there is no indication President Trump will fire Mueller, so the legislation is unnecessary. President Trump has voiced anger over Mueller's investigation, examining possible collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia during the 2016 election.
And tomorrow morning on the Today Show, fired FBI Director James Comey talks about his new book, which is drawing fiery reaction from the president. That's live at 7 only on NBC 5. And new at 10, a UNT student has taken to social media tonight, demanding answers after receiving a receipt at the campus dining hall, calling her a racially offensive word.
The university's president called the incident unacceptable, says the student employee responsible for writing the word has now been fired. Jack Heiberger is live on campus with student reaction and how this all happened. Jack?
Yeah, Meredith, the university says this student simply noticed this word on her receipt after getting a meal here on campus. Campus officials say it was a student employee working as a cook, who used a cash register to purposefully write this word on the receipt. On Twitter, a UNT student going by @ChelsMonaMore posted a picture of the receipt. We've blurred the racial slur that university officials say was written by a cook. The post quickly gained traction not just on Twitter, but also on campus.
I just want to know why. Why did you need to do that? Aggression, intimidation, those are the first things that come to my mind, like someone trying to strike fear.
University officials say the student employee responsible has been fired. His motivation for writing the word unknown. UNT President Neil Smatresk also took to Twitter condemning the student employee's actions and offering to meet one-on-one with the student who received the receipt.
As of now, you would expect this to be getting better and people to open their minds more. So for people to still think like this is just ridiculous.
And the university says the student responsible for writing this could possibly face additional disciplinary action. Reporting live in Denton, Jack Heiberger, NBC 5.
Thank you, Jack. A health alert tonight. Researchers say a new urine test can detect cancer cells in infants as well as breast and other cancers. The test looks at thousands of chemical compounds that help with metabolism in people living with cancer. Clinical trials are set to begin this month in Japan, with hopes to make the test available in 2020.
And Chief Meteorologist Rick Mitchell is standing by. What's happening outside, Rick?
It's windy. It'll still be windy tomorrow, but I'll tell you what, temperatures will come down a little bit. We're going to have a little weak cold front coming in here. Instead of 87 like we had today, tomorrow will be 77. Still a gusty wind, this time out of the northwest. We may smell a little smoke in the air tomorrow from wildfires that are raging in western Oklahoma. That cold front's going to bring that smoke down in here, so we may actually smell that and see it. Notice temperatures decrease the rest of the week, all the way into the upper 60s on Saturday. That's our next shot at rain. This is Friday afternoon. All the rain is still well to the west. Futurecast shows that by the time we wake up Saturday morning, the rain is getting closer, and certainly through the day, we'll expect showers and thunderstorms. Now, there's still the potential that a storm or two could be severe, but right now, looks like it'll mainly be in the form of some heavy rain. Some areas may pick up 1 to 2 inches of that rain. Tonight, breezy, mild, 62 for the low. Tomorrow, a sunny day, not quite as warm, but still pretty nice. 77 for the high, and a gusty northwest wind will keep it in the 70s Thursday, Friday, and then our good chance of thunderstorms on Saturday. And again, we might see an inch or two out of that. And then as we go into next week, looking mainly dry. NBC 5 News continues. Stay with us.
Starbucks will temporarily close all 8,000 company-owned stores May 29th. Nearly 175,000 employees will take part in racial bias education training. And this comes after 2 black men were arrested at a Philadelphia location last week.
Sports is next. Stay with us.
Tonight here at the Star, the Albertsons Companies honored Hall of Famer Emmitt Smith for his work in the community along with his wife. But the big story was, of course, about Des Bryant, who's no longer a member of the Cowboys. And head coach Jason Garrett revealed that he's had several conversations since the team cut Bryant on Friday.
We had a good, honest discussion. And again, I wish him nothing but the best going forward. I don't want to get into the details of our conversation, but I appreciated the time that he took.
We have such a tight-knit locker room that we were a little surprised to hear those comments, and it is what it is, and I understand everybody's frustrated in this situation, but the business of football is that way, and it's crazy to think how things worked out, but again, we have a great team, we have a great locker room, and we're excited about what we're going to be able to do moving forward.
Yeah, I don't know what all that's about. You know, I think I know when you go through these processes, there's a lot of things that probably go into it, but I know I enjoyed my time with Daz.
Cowboys offseason workouts continue. From the Star, I'm Newey Scruggs for NBC 5 Sports. We're back with more news right after this.
Hey guys, we're playing catchphrase with Joel McHale, Michael Che, Offset. We have music from Offset and Metro Boomin. It's a great show. Stay tuned.
All right, if you're a procrastinator, you're getting one more day to file your taxes. The IRS online payment site where you can wire money from a bank account to pay your tax bill free of charge crashed earlier today. The site's back up and running now. You have until tomorrow night to file your tax return. Good luck.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. The Tonight Show is coming up next.
We'll see you again tomorrow. Have a great night.